Joining with us finally in the studio is CFP financial planner Metta Anggriani. Good morning. It's good to finally see you in person here in the studio. Would usually see you here on the screen.
Good morning. It's very good to be here to see you finally with Kai and Miss Carol.
Yes, Metta, you're a part of the family.
Yes.
It's good to have you in the studio finally.
Finally, yeah.
So straight away to the first question. What is the difference between the conventional bond and the Sukuk?
Well, actually, it's the same bonds. Yeah, the financial instruments that is actually it's a medium risk instruments, right? But the difference is because the Sukuk is a Sharia, so it's maintained in the Sharia principles. But it is also a government bond. So it's a government Sharia bonds that is issued by the government, so that we as investors can buy the bonds, can invest in bonds, and actually, it is also the same. I mean, like earlier you said, which one is safer? It's actually the same safe because it's the government bonds.
Yep.
Government bonds is backed by the government and is guaranteed by the law as well. So it's very minimum risk.
Right, and we know there's two types of Sukuk, and there's the retail and saving Sukuk.
Yeah.
So what are the difference between these both?
Well, the difference is actually only on the characters or the features of it, right? Well, the Sukuk retail is actually the term is normally 3 years, while the saving bonds is saving Sukuk is 2 years, and the return is actually fixed for the saving for the Sukuk retail.
Okay.
But the saving Sukuk is actually floating. But when you say floating, there is also a minimum rate that is guaranteed. The minimum rate is actually the first rate when it first launched by the government.
Right.
So it is said floating because then it will follow the interest rate by the government. You know, the Bank Indonesia 7 days reverse repo rate. And you know, when the rate is down, we still have the minimum that we can, so it is safe.
Yes.
But when the interest rate is up, we can also go with the raise as well.
Right, so you can't go below the
Yes.
minimum.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Yeah.
safe. It's a safe
Yeah.
line, right?
So
Yeah,
basically,
and also with the Sukuk retail, you can actually sell it and buy it in the secondary market.
I see.
Yeah, while on the saving Sukuk, you cannot do it in the secondary market, but you can also redeem it at the certain period of time.
Oh, wow.
Like 50% of it, because normally the saving Sukuk is 2 years period.
Correct.
So normally, like in the first year, if you want to redeem it, you have to make a registration for that, and then you can redeem like up to 50%, and then after that, it follows with the maturity date.
Very interesting. So for me, it's the security part is that yes, the interest rate is sort of floating. No, you cannot call it interest in the Sharia.
Yes,
yes.
But basically, you cannot lose money because there's the minimum is the initial investment that you made, right?
Right.
It's like the akad, we're
Right.
going to say.
Yeah, because if it is Sharia,
Yes.
then the agreement is called the akad
Right.
wakalah. So everything is there, and it's agreed upon in the beginning, right?
Correct.
Predetermined.
Yes.
So it is very safe because then it is also for investor who's looking for a routine payment, routine income from their investment.
Yes.
So you have potential income that is very routine as well.
Yes.
So just out of curiosity, because it is backed by the government and we've just agreed that it is quite safe, it's a medium risk investment. How is the profit though shared with the government, considering we have the investment capital?
Well, yeah. The thing is the difference again between the Sukuk and the bonds, because actually bonds is the government borrowing money from us, so we become as a lender. But if for the Sukuk, it's like we are helping the government to invest to buying investment asset for the government. So it's like we're buying the asset and then the government will pay us in terms of the rent. So it's different.
It's like a certified partial ownership.
Yes,
Because
yes.
if I'm not mistaken, in Sharia Allah, if you buy something, you have to get something.
Yes.
Something tangible, right?
Right. So it's really backed by tangible assets, the government asset, and the government asset is used for a project or for an asset that is following the Sharia compliance as well. So that's the difference. So the profit is actually not a profit, but because I I
Yeah.
help buying an asset. I have a portion of my ownership in that asset, and then the government is like paying rent for me.
All right. Now, you know, just now, Kai and also yourself, Metta, said that this is a medium risk, right? So what kind of like risk, let's say for those that has, you know, investments in Sukuk?
Yeah, well, in general, there's always a risk in the investment,
Every investment,
like
yeah.
default risk. Default risk is when you know the borrower cannot pay the amount
Yeah.
in the maturity date. But in Sukuk, of course, it is very minimum because it's guaranteed by the law. But also as an investor, there is a liquidity risk. Liquidity risk means, you know, when I invest in Sukuk, then that means my money is there for 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
Right.
I cannot take it whenever I want.
Right.
So there's
Yes,
some
That period of time.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know,
So it's not that too liquid for me as an investor.
Correct.
And of course, since also there's always a market risk. So when we say that, although it is floating with the minimum amount, but there is a risk of, you know, the market risk.
Yes.
It can be go up and down. But again, maybe in Sukuk the risk is also very minimum.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, when you talk about government bonds or even the corporate bonds, that's also the risk that is available.
Right. So especially for those who wants to start early, you know, start jumping into this wagon, I think this would be an appropriate one.
For long-term investments.
Well, yeah, not so long term.
Yeah,
medium.
but yes, but we understand that for some people liquidity is very important, depending on
Yes.
your you know, priorities, of
needs,
course.
yes.
Because I was just going to ask, when we talk about risks, right? How a lot of things in different countries are changing right now, economies and fluctuations in prices and everything. If like I'm just thinking about a country like was it Bangladesh? Was it right? No, Sri Lanka. Sorry,
Yes.
Sri Lanka, who currently the government is facing a big economic crisis. They cannot pay the bonds and things like that. I know it's hopefully unlikely currently happening in Indonesia, but is that a part of the risk? That is quite a big risk if the government cannot return to us in the due date, right?
Yes, there is also the risk. That's actually the biggest risk. But again,
How do you see it with the current economic situation? Is it still okay for us to invest in bonds, like long-term bonds?
well, for me, I have the faith for our government right now, because I think the Indonesian economic is fundamentally quite healthy.
Yes.
And you know, when the release from the Badan Pusat Statistik last month that the current growing rate of the Indonesian economics is still about 5%. So I think it will be a good indicators for us to invest in our government instruments. Yep. So, and again, I think so far there has been no history of our government that they cannot pay the loan. So far, I think it's quite a safe one. So.
It's good to hear too from Metta that
Yes.
we do have to, you know, support and also, you know, feel the safety of our governance also.
Yes, because by saving in the government bonds, the government Sukuk, is like that we're contributing
Yeah.
to our economy as well, not
Yeah.
just. You know, we have kind of like a responsibility to also,
course.
you know,
To
maintaining
enhance
our
the economy.
country.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now you were
yes.
talking about contribution. What kind of investments project that Sukuk contributes to then, Metta?
Well, as I mentioned, the Sukuk itself is for the government to buy an asset to manage a projects. But of course, it has to follow the Sharia rules, right? So normally the projects that is supported, maybe, you know, like the green projects, you know, maybe
Okay.
helping to make a conservation to, you know, protect the animals or you know,
Yes,
some
wildlife,
plants, yeah.
yes.
And also it's good for education. Sometimes the government used to, you know, build schools or universities in the, you know, in rural areas.
Right.
And also by building some infrastructures, you know, like the public infrastructures like bridge or maybe like the stations, you know, the railway stations or
Yes.
whatever. So normally that's the risk that is managed by the Sharia rules as well.
So in line with the Sharia compliance then. Good to know. All right.
So I think the governments we know have a lot of projects in line, especially because we're moving to a new capital city soon. And that is going to be a conservation, at the same time a green place. It's going to be a new dawn for Indonesia, apparently. But what are the Sukuk investments that are currently still open to purchase for this period of time?
Well,
is there a certain timeline or?
Well, yeah, I mean, like every year, the government will issue a schedule of, the issuance of Sukuk and the government bonds. And I think this year, the government is scheduled to have 3 Sukuk issuance. But at this point, there is no Sukuk open, for the initial placements, yeah. The next one, I think, will be in the mid-August and September. And then the next one will be in the mid-October. But right now, I think there is an available government bonds available, not the Sharia ones. I think now is maybe until the mid of June. So yeah, I mean, like when the government selling the bonds or Sukuk, they have a target amount, right?
Yes.
So if we want to participate, we have to book it in advance, because otherwise, if it is if the amount is already
it's
targeted,
like a bid for equity.
yeah, it is closed. So I think right now, for the government bonds, the SPR 011, I think, is still available, but soon it will be closed.
Yeah. So then how do we know, Metta, knowing all the information and whatnot, when we can join the Sukuk investments?
Well, yeah, I mean, like there will be a lot of information about the, when the government opens the issuance, there will be a statement for that.
Yeah.
And also, normally it is also supported by the distribution partners, like banks, investment securities, and then the fintech companies, and because they help to sell it as well. So, so if you want to buy it, we can buy it online to all these distribution partners, and yeah, all the information will actually be there.
Okay. So what's the minimum usually, Metta, seeing this?
Well, I think that right now is, because it's retail, is as low as 1 million rupiahs.
Oh, really?
So it's
Wow.
That's why it's called retail.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it's up to, I think, 2 billion rupiahs.
Okay.
So what's the difference? Is there a difference in minimum prices between the retail and the savings one?
No, I think it's still the same one for the minimum. I think nowadays it's the same 1 million rupiahs.
But it's just a different term, right?
Yes.
A different liquidity and different term.
Yes.
That's actually very interesting, because they want to make it as accessible as possible for public finance.
Yes.
That is the way to everybody can just join and contribute.
And at least now that Metta is here discussing it with us, then we know the minimum risk and whatnot. Is this your typical investments or not? And I think you have to be ready for it too.
Yeah. I just have one question though.
Yes.
When because bonds and the longer term or medium risk ones, I haven't really tapped in, because I'm looking at the shorter and more liquid equities. But it's very interesting, because when you want to bid for equities, for instance, you have the company profile, you have the detail of the company, and so on and so forth. When the government issues Sukuks in particular, do they have to disclose the particular projects that the funds are being used for, or is that not it? Because I heard that in Sharia law, transparency is key.
Yes. Yes.
So what information do we get before bidding into a Sukuk?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, like there will be like like the prospectus maybe.
Yes, prospectus.
Yeah, the profile of what is the investment is about. I mean, like what's the purpose of the government raising the money from the people, and it will be monitored as well, because normally those projects is actually we're helping a project that is not funded by the government budget, right? So I think and normally there will be some reports as well that saying that okay, so the bridge is already built now and it's available to use. So those reports will be available as well. So and it will be released to public. So I mean, like we will know what is really what our money is to be used for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Yes.
Yes, Metta, thank you so much for being here with
you.
us on the C Morning Show. Now we're very enlightened and also know more about Sukuk investment. If this is your type of investment, thank you so much. I mean, it's good that you already hear from Metta, and thank you so much for being here, Metta.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you,
so great to
Metta.
have you here. Yes, we have to have more of you in the studio talking about economics and also finance right here.
Yes.
Right.